Hi there and welcome back. It's Rick with the Ingrain Workshop. And now that the workshop renovation project is 100% complete, I'd like to take you guys on a mini tour of the workshop. I'd like to walk you through my setup. I'd like to show you some things I'm glad I did and some things I probably wish I would have done differently. So let's get started. Hi there and welcome to the Ingrain Workshop. So this is the workshop. It's a metal building that was built by Carolina Carports back in 2012. It's approximately 10 years old. It's 25 feet wide by 30 feet long, roughly 750 square feet. The wall height is 10 feet and then it's vaulted, has a vaulted ceiling. Inside I think it vaults up to about maybe 12 feet. So again, this is a metal building down here in the Tampa Bay area of Florida, where it gets extremely hot, and I'm hoping that the insulation project is going to go well this summer, along with the mini split that I'm going to put in a couple of weeks. And I'll definitely video all of that and let you guys know how well the mini split is cooling the workshop. So with regards to the workshop, the first thing I had to do was fix a leak in the roof. The workshop had been dormant for about 5 years, so before I started any of the renovation projects, I had to fix the leak in the roof. So when Carolina Carports installed the building back in 2012, I had the bright idea to go buy these clear polycarbonate panels to just give some natural light to the workshop, and it worked out great. You know, they gave the workshop a lot of natural lighting, and I really didn't even have to turn on the fluorescent lights during the day. Even on an overcast day where we had rain, you still didn't need to turn on the lights. There was enough natural light to light the workshop. The problem with the polycarbonate panels is over time the UV rays from the Florida sun just deteriorated them, and they started to crack, and they also started losing their OPEC value. They started you know, becoming more cloudy, letting in less daylight, and then letting in more water because they were leaking. And of course the first spot that started to leak was right over my table saw, so the cast iron top on my table saw basically got ruined because the water was just leaking on that, and also on the miter saw station that I have inside. So the first thing I did was pull off the polycarbonate panels and put on just plain white metal panels to match the existing roof, and that worked out fine. That fixed the leaking issue. But the problem is, when I did that, it made it like a cave. I mean, it was dark when you went in. Even the fluorescent lighting I had was not adequate enough to light the workshop. So I thought, well, to kind of offset the natural lighting from the polycarbonate panels that I had, and I think I only had 4, I decided to install windows. So the windows that you're going to see here on the side of the workshop are windows that I actually put in about 6 months ago. But you'd really never tell. It looks like they were put in when the building was installed back in 2012. So let me show you the windows that I installed. So this is one of the windows I installed. This is on the south wall of the workshop. I installed a similar window on the north wall of the workshop. It does let in some natural light, and I'm very thankful to have it, but it does not replace the 4 skylights that I had on the roof. So to compensate for that, I went ahead and took out all the fluorescent lighting during the shop renovation and installed LED lighting, and that's also in the shop renovation playlist as well. So as you can see here on the side of the workshop, like I said, it's 30 feet long, and the front door is about maybe 100 feet from the back door of my house. So it's about 100 feet commute to the front door of the workshop. And then on the front of the workshop, it's 25 feet wide. I have a 10 foot by 10 foot roll-up door, and then I have a 10 foot by 11 foot carport with a concrete slab. So as you can see here, Dixie the shop dog, this is her area, and we used to let her just roam free throughout the property, which was 1.5 acres, and she started to digging in our septic area, our drain field, so we decided to relocate her here. This was the easiest place because all we had to do was install this one fence and a gate. The other two fences were already here, so that was the least amount of work that we would have to do to keep her in this pen. And this is where she's been, and you can see how it's pretty tore up. I mean, there's not much grass, and I am in the process of relocating her to the back of the property. And once I do that, I'll be able to remove this fence along with this front fence and gate and totally take that out. And then I'll be able to take my truck and just back it straight up to the carport and drop off any sheet goods or hardwood that I need to drop off for the workshop. So let's walk around to the back of the workshop. So here at the back of the workshop, similar to the front, I've got another carport. This carport is a 12 foot by 25 foot carport, and it also has a concrete slab. And this is where I'm going to install the condensing unit for the Mr. Cool unit that I'm going to install. I don't know if you can see the electric disconnect next to the trailer there on the side of the wall. But that's where the condensing unit's going to go. I'm probably going to pull out eventually the boat and the trailer and then close this carport in. That's my goal, is to one day close this in. On that back wall, I'll frame a wall and then have an exhaust fan on that back wall and make a spray booth area. And then I might also relocate the wood storage area out here as well, and maybe just put an 8-foot garage door here on this end of the carport. So then I can just open up the garage door, bring in all my wood and lumber and store it here. And this space will be totally enclosed. And I'm also going to try to connect the carport to the actual workshop here at the back door. And so maybe I can just take that door off, and then this will just be open to the workshop, and this space will become a conditioned space as well. That's another reason why I went with the 36,000 BTU mini split instead of the 24,000 BTU mini split. And I also already have an air hose out here, and I also have electrical. So, relocating, I'm also thinking about relocating my air compressor and possibly my dust collector out here, just to cut down on the noise within the workshop. If I have them out here, it'll make the workshop a lot quieter when those machines turn on and off. And that's pretty much it for the exterior of the workshop. Like I said, it's a metal building. You would never know that from the inside, but it is a metal building. And it sits right here next to our tiny house. This is the she shed, which Z calls her shabby shack. That was another project that we did back in 2020 when we took and finished that tiny house. In 2021, I took and renovated the man cave, or my workshop. All right, so now let's go inside and see what it looks like inside. Okay, so this is the inside of the workshop. This is the front door. This is the door that I mainly use to come and go from the workshop. So we'll start the tour here at the front door. We'll go along the south wall, then we'll hit the east wall, the north wall, the west wall, and then we'll take a tour of the interior layout of the workshop. So let's get started here at the south wall and start you out here at my primary workstation. So this is my primary workstation. It's a metal cabinet with a butcher block countertop, and then I have two metal cabinets that are currently just sitting on top of the butcher block countertop. The reason why they're sitting on top is that I'm gonna take and install new wall and base cabinets here. So these metal wall cabinets and the metal base cabinet along with the butcher block countertop will probably get relocated. So primarily I'm currently using it just as a kind of catch-all for my charging station. So another future shop project will be to design a wall-mounted charging station to charge all my drills, my impact drivers, all my power tool, my battery-operated power tools. Next to my workstation, I have a metal storage cabinet. I've got it turned sideways right now, just so I'm not blocking the window. This was a window that I installed after the workshop was built. Inside the metal cabinet is where I store all my painting and staining and cleaning supplies. And I probably will keep this. It will definitely need to be cleaned out, but I will be keeping this because it is a metal cabinet. It's, not fire resistant, but it's definitely not as flammable as if I used or built a wooden cabinet. So this is probably the only piece of existing shop furniture that I'm going to keep in the shop, simply because it's a metal cabinet. So as part of shop organization projects, upcoming projects, what I'm going to do is for my workstation, like I mentioned before, I'm just going to build base cabinets. I'll probably leave an open slot so I can pull a chair up to and basically use the countertop space as a workspace to assemble and restore post office box doors. And then here under the window, I'm going to have a lower base cabinet, and then I've got a brand new Win oscillating belt and spindle sander, which I haven't even taken out of the box yet. And then I'll take and install that here under the window. And then it will have countertop space on both sides, which should make sanding longer boards a little bit easier. And then next to the window, I have a tool chest that's primarily just full of mechanic type tools. I inherited this from my dad when he passed. I'm probably going to get rid of the tool chest, but I will be keeping all the tools. Again, I'm going to just design base cabinets with drawers and doors along with wall cabinets and store all those tools in there. And then next to that, I have my lathe and my lathe stand. And don't laugh, but most of my shop furniture was built probably in the early 2000s. And you can probably find these on old woodworking magazines, on the cover of old woodworking magazines. This was the thing back in 2000, was just to have 2x4 shop furniture with open storage underneath, and then just a melamine top with hardwood edge banding around it, and that was pretty much the design back then. This is a jet lathe. I think it's a 36-inch. It has the extension on it. Like I said, I will be taking, and this will be a future project, in building a new lathe stand which will have cabinets at the bottom instead of just open shelving. And then as you can see on the top, I currently just have different pins that I've made. Some of these were made from Corian, some from rifle bullets, red oak, zebra wood, deer antler. These are just various materials that I use to make pins. And then below, I've got my pin press, which I use to press pins together. And then I also have a drill press for drilling out the blanks, the holes for the blanks. And these are all just jigs that I've made in the past. That's for drilling holes in the pin blanks. And then this jig is for pressing the two halves of the pins together along with the inserts. And I just keep miscellaneous pin hardware in a tackle box underneath there. So again, I think an upgrade to this lathe station will be a plus. I also have my lathe tools down at the bottom as well. So this will be a nice upgrade once I start the shop organization projects. Next to the lathe, I have file cabinet storage. I have, I think, a total of 4 file cabinets. And these file cabinets are primarily used just for storage, and they primarily just store old post office box doors. So as you can see, there's really not much organization to the drawers. I just have different style of post office box doors. This is a double dial sunburst. This is a Flying Eagle door. This door has been restored and it's also been antiqued. It still needs the glass. And again, these are the doors that I'll take over to my workstation, and I'll work on refurbishing them, restoring them, and then putting in the glass panels. And if I have to, I'll work on the gear mechanisms for the combinations. And then once I get them 100% refurbished, I'll take and make these doors into a bank, a post office door bank, like a piggy bank that you can store your money and then open the combination and take out the money. On top of the file cabinets, I have more screw storage. These are all screws and gears and combinations and keys and locks, anything associated with the restoration of post office box doors, I also keep up here as well. And then as part of the shop renovation, you can see the T111 siding that I installed on the walls. Behind the T111 siding, I have 2 inches of rigid foam insulation. And then I also encapsulated the metal roof trusses and installed faux beams. And I also installed a plywood ceiling throughout the workshop, along with new LED lighting. And, you know, it really came out great. And that's one thing that I would highly recommend. So, the one thing I highly recommend, especially if you have a metal building like I do, is to go ahead and insulate it. I don't know so much about the spray foam insulation and the cost benefit for the spray foam insulation, but the rigid insulation, and both products are probably something you can do yourself, but I think that the rigid foam insulation is much easier. I think it's cheaper, and I can definitely tell a difference living here in the Tampa Bay area. Used to, in the wintertime, when you'd come into the workshop, it'd be probably 5 degrees cooler in the workshop than it was outside. And then in the summertime, it's just the opposite. It would be 5 degrees hotter inside versus outside. And in Florida, that can be brutal in the middle of summer. I can already tell, I insulated the building in November. So I've been through the winter, and in February, you could come out here and it'd be 5 to 7 degrees warmer inside the workshop than it was outside. Currently, it's around mid-May. For Florida, it's already summer, and you can tell a huge difference when you walk from the outside into the workshop. There's at least a 5 to 7 degree change in temperature from the exterior to the interior. And again, that wasn't heard of before the installation. It was just the opposite. It was hotter. Now it's cooler. And I have yet to install the DIY Mr. Cool unit. That'll be in an upcoming video. I've got 750 square feet. I'm going to be installing a 36,000 BTU condensing unit and wall unit, and that should be more than enough to cool this space. I think for 36,000 BTU, it's rated at 1,500 square feet. Granted, I'm at 750 square feet here, but because my wall heights are 10 feet and then they're vaulted on top of that, that's additional cubic footage that I need to include in the calculation. So I thought it was just easier to err and have it sized a little too much than not enough. So I was on the fence there between a 24,000 BTU unit and a 36,000 BTU, but I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger on the 36,000 BTU unit, and that install video will be an upcoming video which I'll share with you guys. So moving on to the east wall, starting back here at the file cabinets where the post office box doors are stored, is my wood rack. I really didn't do anything to the wood rack other than paint the supports black. And I also just reorganized it since I had to take everything off the wall to install the T111 siding behind it. I went ahead and cut things down to a nominal size, and then on the ends of the boards here I've labeled the species of the wood, walnut in this instance, 8 inches wide by 7 feet long. And as far as the depths of the boards, they probably are all, you know, around 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch thick. I don't think I have any 5/4 here on the wall, so but that's the major information that I need when I go to look for wood. So I have a lot of domestic woods, but I also have some international woods like Paduk, Jatoba, zebra wood. I have some yellow heart, purple heart, mahogany from Honduras. So, you know, I try to keep this wall pretty well stocked with hardwoods, so I'm ready for any project. And as you can see, it's pretty much at capacity, and there are no issues with the wood rack whatsoever. And again, I've had this wood rack since I moved into the workshop about 10 years ago, and I've never had an issue with it. I've got a video on how I built this wood rack, and if you want to check it out, just look at the playlist for the shop renovation, and you should be able to find it there. And then this is the back door to the workshop. And then next to that, I have my Powermatic 14-inch bandsaw. It's on a mobile base, so I can pull it away from the wall if I have to cut longer boards. I have dust collection to it, but currently I do not have the dust collection system installed since I took everything down when I was renovating. That's another upcoming project, is to reinstall the 4-inch dust collection. I know a lot of people run it overhead and drop it down, but in the past I've ran it along the wall maybe 24 inches above the finished floor and just run it horizontally around the wall to the actual dust collector. And that worked out great for me for years. I think what I'm going to do is when I reinstall it, I'm going to install it down at the floor. That way when I build cabinets, you know, I can just notch out at the bottom of the cabinet for the 4-inch pipe that's running along the base of the floor, and then just wire up and hit the equipment that I need to hit. And I think too, doing it this way, gravity is working for you instead of against you, and it's going to help with the static pressure on your dust collection system instead of it having to suck and pull the chips from the machine up to the ceiling of your workshop and over and down to your actual dust collector. So next to the 14-inch bandsaw, I have my floor-mounted drill press. Now this drill press is probably from circa 1995. It's a 16-speed drill press. I think I picked this up at Harbor Freight. Never really had any issues with it. I might keep it, I might upgrade it. You can see due to the humidity down here in Florida, the shaft, the chuck, everything is rusted just due to the humidity in the workshop and it not being a conditioned space. And then this is the drill press table that I built. I probably built this back around 2000 as well. So I'm going to probably be upgrading all this. So instead of upgrading the drill press table, I'll probably wait until I get a new drill press and then just build a new table for that particular drill press and get rid of this old one. All right, and that pretty much wraps up the east wall. And you can also see in conduit all the electrical that I ran, and all these projects were part of the shop renovation projects, along with installing the rustic trim around the workshop. You can watch all these videos in my shop renovation playlist. So again, that's pretty much the east wall from the wood rack all the way over to the drill press. Now here on the north wall, starting in the northeast corner, is my miter station. And as you can see from the miter station, again, this was built in the early 2000s. You can probably find it on the cover of a wood magazine back then. Again, it's just 2x4 construction with open storage underneath. And then on top, it's just a melamine top with a hardwood edge banding around it. I used to have a dust hood on top, and I just took that off during the renovation. And this is probably going to be my first shop organization project, is to come in here and build a miter saw station along with wall cabinets, and that'll be an upcoming video. So this is going to be my first shop organization project that I do, since I do use the miter station more than any other workstation in the workshop. I'm also going to be upgrading the miter saw. This is a Dewalt 12-inch compound sliding miter saw. Like with all these miter saws, the sliding arm sticks out, so the actual whole station has to sit off the wall probably 12 inches. I'm probably going to go with a Bosch 12-inch with the articulating arm. That way I can mount it directly up against the wall and it doesn't take up any space behind the station. And then next to the miter saw station, I have my 2-stage dust collection system. I just have a Grizzly, I think it's a 3 horsepower dust collector. Again, this was purchased back in the early 2000s. And then for my 2-stage Cyclone dust collection, I just have, metal garbage cans with just 2 Cyclone hoods on top. Believe it or not, this system works fairly well. You can look at the, let me show you the size of the wood chips in each container. So you can see in the first one, these are probably, large to medium size wood chips. And then in the second can, you've got, small to fine wood dust particles. And then you have the actual dust collection bag, which, hardly any dust makes it to that bag. Everything, for the most part, is captured in these 2 cyclones. And, particles maybe 1 micron or less probably do end up in this bag. But I'd like to hear from you guys, and feel free to leave comments regarding the dust collection system. I'm thinking about taking this 6-inch flexible hose off of here and then putting a 6-inch metal ductwork through the wall, and basically taking and dumping the fine particles 1 micron or less outside the workshop. So this whole apparatus with the bag and the filter would just go away, and then this 6-inch flex would just tie into the metal 6-inch pipe that's through the wall. And then on the exterior of the building, I'll have something like a dryer vent or a dryer hood, and then the dust would just be expelled to the exterior of the workshop. So then the only thing I would have here in the workshop would be the actual 3 horsepower motor, along with the blower, and then the two-stage cyclones. Everything else would be gone. That's going to free up more room, and it's also going to get the very fine 1 micron less particles out of the workshop and just disperse them outside. Let me know your comments. Let me know if you've tried that or if you've done that, how it works. I'm not sure how that's going to affect the static pressure of the system, but it's definitely something that I want to look into and possibly do. So if you have any suggestions about the dust collection and getting it out of the shop or in the exterior, ducted to the exterior, please leave them in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from you. I'm open to any suggestions, any ideas to make the workshop, a healthier workshop, and also to make things more efficient, because it would cut down on the footprint for the dust collector. All right, so moving on down the north wall next to the dust collector is my router table. And don't laugh, my router table was built back in the early 2000s like the rest of my shop furniture. It's a dinosaur, and it will be an upcoming shop organization project, which I'm going to take and remodify, but I'll show you my existing router table. So this is the existing router table. It's just made out of MDF, and then it has a Formica top. So instead of using melamine for the top for the router table, I just used a couple of sheets of MDF with Formica glued to the top of it, and then some oak edge banding around it with just a chamfer edge all the way across the edge banding. You'll notice the top two drawers have 4 holes, 2 holes in each door. That's just to allow for airflow from the back of the cabinet to the front of the cabinet, so when the dust collector's on, it can take and be more efficient, and it will cut down on the static pressure buildup and allow some air circulation to actually cool off the router as well. So let me open that up and show you the inside. So as you can see inside, right now I just have it mainly for storage. I've got a Dewalt, extra Dewalt router in there. The actual router that's in the router table, I believe, is a Freud. And in this particular design, I don't have a router lift, so you have to manually lift the router up and down in order to change the router bits. So the actual top itself lifts back. And then on each side of the tabletop, there is a hinge which locks in place to hold the lid in the upright position. And there's also a piano hinge along the back. And then there's the router that I have, which is just a Freud router. It's a pretty big router. Then at the bottom, and you can see things are a mess, but here are all the router bits. So down at the bottom, I have a Bosch router, a router guide, and some router template guide sets. I also have some stop blocks in there and some templates and jigs that I use. So the table's very useful, but I think I can upgrade it and add a little bit more cabinetry, a little bit more shelves, and just organize it a little bit better, and also maybe improve on the dust collector and maybe get a router lift so I don't have to have a flip top, and I can just permanently fasten the top to the router base. So now moving on to the last wall, and that is the accent wall of the workshop. And it's also the hottest wall of the workshop. It's the west wall. And right now I have my refrigerator and garbage can. Behind my garbage can I have a water connection, And so in the future, part of the future shop organization projects, I'll be building base cabinets and wall cabinets in this section from the corner over to the barn door. And then I'm going to install a sink, and then I'll have wall cabinets that go above the sink and then also above the refrigerator. And then to the left of the refrigerator, I have my roll-up door. And this was also a previous video in the shop renovation project. And as you can see, I've framed out the roll-up portion of the door and then built a barn door. And then I also have 2 inches of insulation behind this. So now the entire workshop has insulation. And like I mentioned previously, that's definitely something I would recommend doing. The barn door is fully functional, and let me open it up for you real quick and show you what that looks like. So that's it. It's fully functional. You can see Dixie, the shop dog, here. This is her area. There will be a future project. We're in the process of relocating her to the back corner of our property. We have roughly 1.5 acres here. Once I get her relocated, I can take down the fence, and then I'll be able to just back my truck directly up and offload any sheet goods or hardwoods, or if I need to do some vehicle maintenance, I can do some vehicle maintenance right here under the carport. And it's fully functional. And then to the left of the barn door, I have my 80-gallon air compressor, and then I have a PVC air hose piped in the up the wall inside the faux column. That was a video that I had done as well in the shop renovation playlist. And then I have overhead air outlets in the ceiling. I have one here. I have another one here. With the hose reel, this particular hose reel, I think it's a draft. It really can reach every corner of the workshop. I thought I was going to need 2, but I'm really able to just get by with this. Plus, it's right here at my outfeed table, which is where I do a lot of the setting up of projects. So for right now, that's all I've got. So that pretty much wraps up the perimeter of the workshop. Now I want to go over the interior layout of the workshop. Starting with the table saw, which is the central, should be the central part of your workshop, because everything works around your table saw. The 2 tools that are mostly used in your workshop are your table saw and your miter saw. So let me show you that setup. So here's my table saw. It's a 10-inch jet table saw. It's a fairly old table saw, but it does have a 54-inch fence, so I am able to rip some pretty wide sheets of plywood. And then I've got a small, I think it's a 4-foot or 3-foot by 6-foot outfeed table. So an upcoming project will be to take the outfeed table and make it a 6-foot by 8 feet outfeed table, and then have base cabinets for storage down in the bottom. I might actually have an open area here for a shop vac for dust collection while I'm sanding here. I do have electric and dust collection already to the table saw, and I had done that during the construction of the metal building, or when they were pouring the slab. I went ahead and roughed in for dust collection and for electrical here at the table saw. So that's why you don't see anything coming down. Everything was roughed in. I had an idea of where I wanted everything laid out in the shop before I had it built. So before they poured the concrete, I went ahead and roughed in a 4-inch pipe for dust collection and a 3/4 inch conduit for the electrical for the table saw here, basically in the middle of the workshop. And you'll notice too, I'm right here at the roll-up door. So as I back my truck up and offload sheet goods, I can offload them directly to the table saw, rip them to rough sizes, and then stack them up on the outfeed table. And that works out really good. And then from the outfeed table, I can take them over to the miter saw station and start ripping them to rough lengths. Now for the milling process, I did the same thing. I knew about where I wanted my planer. I've got a Delta planer here, and I've got a 4-inch dust collection roughed out of the slab along with my 220 volt electric. And you'll notice I don't have a joiner. I've been using my table saw to join all my material, but I think I am going to break down and buy me a joiner, and I'll probably sit it next to the planer here, because you're never really using them both at the same time, and they are two pieces of equipment that you kind of use one right after the other. So this is a Delta DC 380 planer, and then if I have a joiner next to it, they can share the same dust port, and also have 220 volt electricity here for the joiner as well. Again, that's going to be a future purchase. And then over here, I just have my Ryobi bench grinder, and then I have a Westinghouse motor, which I've converted into a wire wheel. And then I have a Dewalt scroll saw. These things are just sort of kind of sitting in this corner. I did install an electrical reel at the top here, which makes it very convenient just to connect when I'm using this equipment. I don't use it that often, but when I do, the electrical reel is very convenient. So that pretty much wraps up the interior of the workshop. And if you guys have any suggestions on maybe a better layout or something I could do better, then by all means, leave a comment, and I'll definitely take all things into consideration. Well, that's going to wrap up the mini tour of the workshop. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd really love to hear from you. Any ideas as far as the shop layout, the dust collector, anything like that, just leave them in the comments below. I will take anything into consideration. Anything to make the workshop more efficient is going to make my life a lot easier. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. As you know, there are a lot of upcoming shop organization projects which I think will be very useful for everybody, including myself, to get feedback on as far as the miter station, the router table, the outfeed table. There's just tons of projects regarding shop organization or shop furniture that we're going to be doing in the future. So I hope you guys stick around for that, and by all means please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll get notified of all the upcoming projects that we're going to have here at the workshop. Again, I just want to thank all of my subscribers, and I want to thank everyone for watching the video, and please share. Well, this is Rick with the Ingrain Workshop. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.